Morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. The central bank governor announced that there was going to be a change in our currency. Well, one has to be careful so as to be accurate. There will be a redesign of certain notes, the 200, 500, and 1,000 Naira notes to be redesigned by Central Bank of Nigeria. And in fact, I have the impression that this would have been done by now, but it'll only go into circulation on the 15th of December, and it's going to last for about just 3 months, by which time all the transitions are expected to have been completed. I will come back and talk a bit more about this, even get your impressions up front, even before our guest arrives. But let's give you a background report on this, and then we'll come back and we'll open the phones and we'll talk about it a bit.
3.2 trillion naira is currently in circulation in Nigeria, but 2.7 trillion, representing 85% of the total amount, is outside the banking system's vaults.
Announcing the arrival of the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
This is one major reason why the Central Bank of Nigeria is now announcing its planned introduction of redesigned 200, 500, and 1,000 naira notes by December 15th this year. The old currencies for the affected denominations will cease to exist as legal tender from the 31st of January next year.
The management of the CBN has sought and obtained the approval of President Muhammadu Buhari to redesign, produce, release, and circulate new series of banknotes at 200 naira, 500 naira, and 1,000 naira levels. In line with this approval, we have finalized arrangements for the new currency to begin circulation from December 15, 2022, after its launch by President Muhammadu Buhari.
The Apex Bank expects the developments to help mop up currency in circulation, thereby giving it better control. It as well hopes this will address the spate of kidnapping, whereby cash is mostly paid as ransom, and control rising currency counterfeiting issues.
The redesign of the currency will help deepen our drive to entrench cashless economy, as it will be complemented by increased minting of our e-Naira. Also, in view of the prevailing level of security situation in the country, the CBN is convinced that the incidence of terrorism and kidnapping will be minimized, as access to large volume of money outside the banking system used as source of funds for ransom payments will begin to dry up.
The Apex Bank expects the move to address rising inflation as well. It wants the public to immediately begin depositing cash in banks and directs the banks to immediately stop all charges on deposits to drive the process. Lara Folayo, TVC News, Abuja.
Okay, so there's the central bank governor there when he made the announcement. As you could see, it was a announcement because he just, got up. No need for questions and that kind of a thing. Just about everything that needed to be said has been said. Well, Mr. George, good morning to you, sir. You've called in even before I was ready. A fine morning to you. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
The topic is very fascinating. That's why
Yes, and we haven't heard from our own people yet.
Yes. Uncle Yori, the drama that is surrounding the whole episode is suspicious. I've never seen, whatever is the reason that the CBN governor is giving for this, I've never seen a situation where in a country that has both monetary and fiscal policy managers want to change its currency, then the area that, the agency that oversees the economy and the fiscal policy is excluded. Even the Bank of England can never try that. How is it that the Minister of Finance in our country will not know that the currency of this country is about to be redesigned?
Exactly.
This is how I said in one of our earlier programs that MDAs and some ministers are playing on the trust that the president places on them. If I were the president, the governor of the central bank brings this kind of proposal, I will call the Minister of Finance myself to hear his output.
Okay.
And then the approval was given. What I am saying, Uncle Yeri, is that I suspect a political witch hunt in this matter. Somebody wants to use it to punish somebody.
You know, Mr. George, just along the lines you're saying, when this, shall we say, disagreement, or shall we call it a misunderstanding between the minister and the rest of us, or the whole financial system there, when it came up, Garba Shehu was reported to have been on a Hausa speaking program, and it was released that, wait a minute, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance is a member of the board of CBN by design. So if Madam Minister has her permanent secretary in there, I think it was Garba Shehu, the spokesman of the president.
Uncle Yori, how are we sure that the board of CBN itself was carried along in this project?
Well,
don't forget that the National Assembly has of recent had reasons to attempt to make a law that the CBN governor should no longer be the chairman of the board of CBN because of the way the governor has been getting involved in the political arena.
Okay.
This one he is doing now, I am of the view that he is doing it to favor a particular candidate in the coming elections.
All right.
Because what else could be the reason?
Well, the reason, as you know, what we have up front is that, well, first of all, normally the cycles are something like, 5 to 8 years, but we've been going strong on our old dirty notes, which is another reason. The old dirty notes are embarrassing to the nation, so this is an opportunity to change them.
I know, I'm sorry, I know all that, but let us look at it. I have an insight into the workings of CBN. The money that he claims is not in circulation, most of it are in the banks, which is being supervised by the CBN.
Well, that's a problem. Maybe we'll talk about it because, you remember, Mr. George, interesting point you bring up. When the news came out, it was that there's a total of 3.2 trillion naira in circulation. 2.73 of this was reported to be outside of the vaults. Outside of the vaults.
That's what I'm saying. But what I wanted to point out to you, sir, is that this huge amount that he claims is not inside the banking system, the cash is in many of the commercial banks. They are not in any account. CBN knows. If the governor of CBN says he's not aware of this, let him swear by the God he serves that he's not aware that some huge cash are lodged by people known to him in commercial banks that are not inside any accounts. But the bankers know about it.
Okay.
So the one he is saying that is not in circulation, those huge lodgements are part of it. They cannot fool everybody. Some of us know what is happening. Whether they like it or not, the person that will win this election to fix this country will win it.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. George. Well, that's an interesting, because what Mr. George is saying right there, and I suspect he's not about the only one. They've said, yep, we've heard the upfront reasons, the standard reasons, all those reasons which were given about, oh, by the way, the cycle, that countries usually do this thing by. For some reason, we've been very, very thrifty. We've not printed new notes. We've not done this. We've not done that. So we have dirty notes, stinking notes, and apart from the question that Mr. George has just commented upon, that look, the difference between 3.2 trillion and 2.7 trillion is what is in the banking system. But again, you heard Mr. George calling in from Ikeja and his opinion on that. And now, the whole speculation that this is, there's more to this than meets the eye. That there's more to this than meets the eye. Well, it's indeed, you might speculate like that as long as we call it speculation, because I just told you the official reasons, and we know what to do. We know how we handle official reasons. Madam Ada in Jos. Good morning to you, ma'am.
Yori, Ada calling from Jos. I said, good morning. Interesting topic. I was about to step out, then I looked at the topic. I said, no, I must call. And I'm happy you started taking calls early enough. Mr. Yori, I listened to Professor Kingsley Moghalu yesterday on Sunday Politics channels. You know, he was a former deputy CBN.
Yes.
And if what he said is anything to go by, I don't think the CBN governor is wrong. He said that it is done by a board, and the permanent secretary, just like you mentioned, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance is a member of that board with others, and the deputy governor and all the rest of them. And then they will now, make this decision known. So if anybody who is supposed to tell the Minister of Finance, if she claims she was not told, which I doubt happened, it is that permanent secretary that is supposed to have told her. And then that the CBN is independent and is in no way accountable or answerable to the Minister of Finance. Now we should get that right. That when Okonjo-Iweala was there, she respected it and she kept on saying it. You know, unless things will change, but that is the way it should be. Then, but what I want to say here is that if I were the Minister of Finance, assuming she was not told, I'm saying assumption, I will use some kind of emotional intelligence, you understand, as a public officer. I wouldn't have that kind of outburst. You know, it was not necessary. It was unnecessary as far as I'm concerned. There was no diplomacy, you know, because I don't know, in short, I can't understand what is going on.
Indeed.
But
Indeed.
So my own concern now is that whatever the recipient wants to achieve cannot be achieved in a country that doesn't have strong institutions. That's the problem we have in Nigeria. We don't have strong institutions. It can only be achieved where policies work. The problem now is the masses will be the ones to suffer. All these things about terrorism, go after the terrorists. They've told us that they know them. Why have they not persecuted them? We don't hear about them again. Then when you're saying ransom money, they will still get back to the bank through the corrupt practice and still change these monies and still get the new ones. What are we talking about? Just digging a new one to feel an old one. There's nothing wrong with what he's saying. But the problem is that he may not be able to achieve it because of the system we run.
Okay.
We have a structural problem.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is not country. Let's not give up Nigeria. It shall be well.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Ada, you have evolved a standard closing, and so much so that if anybody calls herself Ada and doesn't round up with Agadima, we begin to question the veracity, whether it is the real Ada from Jos. But thank you very much, jokes apart. Thank you very much for calling in, because there are all sorts of speculations that are going around here, and all sorts of meanings. Remember, Mr. George just said, look, whoever will win that election will win that election, implying, of course, that whatever shenanigans will come up to. But the banking people, the CBN governor, he was staying strictly on the corridor of banking. Of course, there are people who would be asking, wait a minute, why now? Yeah, we hear what you're saying. The notes are dirty. They're embarrassing to Nigeria. Yeah, the public is hoarding money. Yeah, but now somebody's called in again. Mr. Yakub.
Yeah.
Good morning to you, sir. Calling in from Dokwemu.
Yes, good morning, Chief Yori.
Go right ahead, sir.
Happy to talk to you once again.
Yes.
Chief Yori, I listened to Moghalu yesterday as well. Yes, we have every right to be skeptical about any innovation that Nigeria is doing, because Nigerian citizens is more or less lost trust, quote and unquote. But if it is to go by what Moghalu is saying yesterday, by law, he says, as last caller said, he says that law says that Nigeria should recycle their notes every 4 to 8 years. But apart from the one they did in 1999 thereabout, this is 20 years that they have been done that. If it is truly that genuinely they want to do this, I think by law they were right. But another thing is that if Minister of Finance claimed that she does not know about this, by law again, according to Moghalu as well, they don't even need to tell her they want to do this, except Mr. President. Are you getting my point, sir? Except Mr. President. And then also, they even have somebody representing her in the board. So if the person fails to tell her that this thing is going on, I think the proper channel to let Mr. President knows he knows the proper channels to say that, either to come to the public and beginning to tell us that she don't know. In the first place, she don't have rights to know. That is number one. Number two, according to the money that all these bandits and whatever head on, if this Naira note or the 500 Naira, 1,000 and the 200 Naira change, yes, if truly Nigeria is patriotic, I'm talking about the bankers now, especially the bank managers. Are you getting it now? All those money in their hand, it will never return back to the system. And then in order for them to exchange it. But we lack patriotism. If we have patriotism, in fact, we can even use as a tool to even get them arrested. Because they will force to bring those money back to the bank. And then, believe me, you, Chief Jury, the bank manager, I'm sorry to say this, and then I'm starting to be corrected. The bank manager is about to make more money. I'm telling you for the fact, because this guy will promise them equal the amount of the same. If they can be able to allow them to take that money back to the bank and collect the new one, that is what is going to happen. But if our security agencies is up north, especially the DSS, they can be able to trace them, even trace the unpatriotic bank managers, so that they can be able to hold them responsible and prosecuting them together. Good morning and God bless you, my chief.
Good morning, sir, and thank you very much for calling in. Well, a number of things sort of arise. People seem to be suspicious. Yeah, the conditions are such that, look, they're going to be changing the designs of those notes. Yeah, that's okay. Now, it follows that I think the president, when people were speaking on behalf of the president, or was it the president himself speaking, that, look, they are sure that there will be no problem with regular, ordinary, law-abiding, honest businessmen. After all, let's face it, you don't expect to go to Dangote's house and find 1 billion Naira in a cupboard somewhere. That's not the way the business works. So when you now come to the bank, I think that's what Mr. Yakub was relating to. When you show up in the bank with, I don't know, let me just say off the top of my head, 500 million Naira or 1 billion Naira, I suppose there will be guidelines. I suppose the bank manager will not be out of order to ask you, sir, ma'am, where exactly is your shop? What is it that you sell? You get my meaning. You know, what is it that you sell? You know, no sweat. I'm just asking. I just want to know. And so if you should say to the manager that it's none of your business, or, you know, don't ask me questions, I imagine they might be able to escalate it. But in the meantime, someone has called in from Jos. Good morning, Bob. Did I get that right? Bob in Jos. Ben.
Yes.
Ben,
Jos.
I beg your pardon. Good morning, Ben. Ben, can you hear us? We've been to Jos this morning, or at least Jos has been to us this morning. But so sorry about that. So you know, that's the other big reason the president is reported to have said, and he didn't even need the president to have said so, that a lot of money seems to be buried underground. Now, that might be, you know, something that people our age can only remember when you go back to Treasure Island literature in Form 1 or 2, that whoever buries money under the ground, in the ground anymore. But apparently people still do. Even in recent times, there were people who would tell you about, you know, purpose-built warehouses. Purpose-built warehouses where these kind of a thing can be stored. In fact, I think we've seen the spectacle of moldy money. It's been kept in improper conditions for so long, it's all moldy, maybe even poisonous. Even when it's not poisonous, if you go to the bank, everybody knows about bank counters. You know, they have this, before COVID, they had these face masks. Somebody's on the line. Who's on the line? Where are we? Reverend Dominic, a fine morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Yori. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Yori, honestly, this debate, to me, personally, I think it's unnecessary. Can you hear me?
Which part of the debate is unnecessary?
I mean, the redesigning or not redesigning. The argument and the further is, to me, it's unnecessary.
Okay.
Why?
How about the reasons given? Are you okay? Are you down? Are you happy? Are you satisfied with the reasons given for the action?
Yes. Yes, that reason is okay by me. If we can flow it to the letter, that reason is okay. Now, for you to know that reason, Yori,
Yeah.
can I hear you?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, for you to know that reason is good, one of the people that give us concern here, use that word advisably, Gumi, the Muslim Sharif, the Muslim cleric, has come out and said that if we change that note, it will make the armed robbers and kidnappers demanding for $. Whose side does this man belong to? To the side of kidnappers
Yeah,
or
that
terrorists,
question was
or
raised.
to the side of Nigerians?
Yeah. You saw that in the papers yesterday, or maybe earlier, but I saw it in the papers yesterday, and I asked the question to my mind.
I was shocked, sir. Which side does this man belong to? I don't want to blame him. If I can hear you, his spokesman, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
His spokesman had been arrested. His spokesman was culpable. I don't know how they arrested his spokesman and his full soldier and still let the man stay in his house. That's Nigerian criminal system that gave me a headache. That is by the way. Let me say this. When George said he will make somebody to win and lose, does it make any sense? If a good presidential candidate is holding money in his house, does he want to be a president of Nigeria? If anybody, a Nigerian who wants to govern us, is holding money, does he want to be a president? This policy is good. Since the CBN governor wanted to be a president, he lost my respect. But he had gained it for this policy. Number 3, the lady, our finance minister, should be careful. In a government, that's what we call corporate understanding and responsibility. She should be careful. CBN is independent, no matter the politics of Nigeria. They don't need to consult her. This man is doing his work. He has consulted the president. And Mr. President tells him to go ahead. If that woman has issue, you should go back to Mr. President. Why should he come openly to say that? When he criticized this governor, he's criticizing my president, the Federal Republic of Nigeria President, Muhammad Buhari. This person he criticized. If you have a boy around you and someone says your son or your someone's head is big, he's talking to you. That woman should be careful. This man has taken the right direction. We must mop out money. Dig billions in the bush. Let's see how we get to the bank. I support my friend Yakub. Bank managers must be monitored now. Bank directors must be monitored now. Bank professors must be monitored. We bring 1 billion. We should ask where you get that money. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Reverend Dominic. I was saying that they're likely to the, you can't just, yes, the government has said that there's a window in which you can exchange your notes. I think you can go ahead and do so right up until, the last day of the year, or, that kind of a thing. But I imagine that if anybody brings a bullion van with 1 billion naira in it, I imagine it won't be a smooth transition. There are questions that are necessarily going to be asked. Nobody said this, but it just stands to reason, doesn't it? So I don't know if this is also, quite frankly, there's a lot going about this that one doesn't know, but that is to say, we can only go with what we have been told as to the reason why this exercise has to be done. There are people who think that it is political in nature, and then of all the things, Sheikh Gumi's spokesperson has said that this is, the government should not be concerning itself with this. That was in yesterday's paper, should not be concerning itself with this kind of an operation, especially as it is on the way out. And in any case, it will only make the kidnappers demand dollars, foreign currency, instead of the... I, quite frankly, didn't know what to make of that. But